You're listening to Ideal Practice, episode number 162. Today, guys, we're going to dive into the concept of relationship intelligence. And before you roll your eyes and tell me you already know this stuff, I'm going to challenge you to listen anyway, because today's guest has a completely different spin on something I thought I understood quite well. In fact, what I've learned today is that what she has to share with you will impact your overall level of success way more than you realize, much less your general health and well-being. So, stay tuned. Hi, I'm Wendy Pitts-Reeves, and with over 2 decades of experience in the private practice world, I've built my 6-figure business while learning a lot of lessons the hard way. This is the first podcast that shows you how to apply the principles of energy, alignment, and strategy to build a practice that is profit-centered, but people-forward. This is the Ideal Practice Podcast. Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Ideal Practice Podcast. This is Wendy Pitts-Reeves, your host, and I am so happy to be hanging out with you on this very hot day here in my part of the country in the Southeast United States. Today we're going to be talking to my guest, Railey Molinario. Railey is a relationship expert in every possible sense of the word. The very first time we met and when we first spoke, she was in the UK, which is where she's living currently. I think she's going to be moving, but that's where she is currently. And I didn't know until I spoke with her that she actually is an American. She's from Massachusetts, but she lives overseas. And she asked me where I was, and when I told her where I was, she said, "Oh, that explains the accent." What accent? Yeah, okay. We'll just leave that. Anyway, Railey is the founder of Relationship Intelligence, and she is an international speaker. She empowers therapists, leaders, and change makers to build thriving relationships, both personally and professionally. As she will tell you a little bit about in our conversation today, she was abandoned at birth and raised in a traumatic home environment, which she left at age 16. And rebuilt her life through emotional mastery and strategic connection. I think there's a lot to that story. But today, she teaches relationship intelligence. It's a proven method to create aligned, intentional relationships that fuel healing, leadership, and legacy, which is something I think all of us could benefit from learning about. Through her coaching, her corporate work, and global movement, Railey is helping therapists like you and me, and entrepreneurs in general, elevate their impact by mastering the one skill that changes everything. And this is true no matter whether you are in corporate, you're in small business, or in any other aspect of your life, and that is human connection. I know you guys know this. I know this is not new to you. However, what you're going to find today is that the way Railey explores some of these concepts that are part of her framework, relationship intelligence, the way she approaches some of these concepts is a new approach to some things that perhaps might be somewhat familiar to you. And I found it enlightening and inspiring, and I hope you will too. So, without further ado, let's get into the interview. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Ideal Practice Podcast. I'm so excited to be hanging out today with Railey Molinario, which is a mouthful for this Tennessee girl to say, but a beautiful name. Railey, say hi to everybody. Come on board.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. And you pronounced my name perfectly. Very well done.
I didn't even practice like anything. Although I will tell people we talked before and I said your name wrong the whole way through until the very end and found out I was saying it wrong. So thank you for your patience on that. So tell everybody where you are in the world and who you serve and how you serve them.
Absolutely. I am currently in England, in the United Kingdom, and people are like, yeah, but you don't have an English accent. So I am American. I have traveled the world, found my home in many, many places, and I serve people who are looking to build amazing businesses, amazing lives through the power of relationship intelligence.
Mm.
People who are tired of burnout, quiet quitting, feeling disconnected, feeling lonely. These are the people that I serve.
Awesome. So, in an audience full of healers, you wouldn't think that that would be a factor, right? You wouldn't expect loneliness or burnout, maybe burnout or disconnection. So, when you and I spoke before, I was like, tell me why we need to talk about this with an audience who, in many ways, would consider themselves an expert on relationships. This is a concept you've come up with, right? This is your framework. Just talk to me through this. Like, what is relationship intelligence? What are some of the core principles? Just talk us through it. Introduce us to the concept.
Relationship intelligence is the ability to navigate our relationships successfully. We use this to empower ourselves to create thriving lives, thriving businesses. And it's something that a lot of people just don't understand because
Mm,
unfortunately, we're not taught about relationships. When I ask people, when did you learn how to have a thriving relationship? They look at me funny. They're like, what do you,
mm,
wait, what?
mm.
And they realize that they haven't. And we understand that the quality of our relationships determines the quality of our life. And yet it's something that
Oh,
is just supposed to be left up to chance. We're not learning it in school. We're not learning it from our parents. And so we're suffering at the hands of ignorance. And we're really talking about the relationship that we have with ourselves, building trust, building confidence, overcoming any traumas, being able to manage our emotions and manage our time, and building relationships with other people, whether that's our clients, our friends, our family. This is what life is truly about.
the quality of our relationships determines the quality of our life, which is
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
This is something that came out in a Harvard study recently. You know, we're all
Mm.
chasing fame and success, and we want great businesses, and we want to have all that flashy stuff, and we can have it. You know, I like myself a nice Chanel bag and a nice pair of shoes, but that is not going to determine my overall happiness. It's
Mm-hmm.
truly about the quality of our relationships.
Mm-hmm. And you emphasize the relationship you have with yourself, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So teach me about this. What does a healthy relationship with self look like? What does an unhealthy relationship with self look like? What are some of the red flags we should be looking for, first of all?
The
Yeah.
most important aspect is to understand that you do have a relationship with yourself.
Mm,
The same way that you have a relationship with your child or your partner or your friend, it's something that needs to be nurtured and it
mm-hmm.
needs to grow. Like everything, if it's not growing, it's dying. So we want to
Mm,
understand the same aspects we want to have in a relationship with our partner. We want to feel seen. We want to feel heard. We want to feel understood. We want quality time. We want investment. It's all about building that relationship as well with ourselves. How do we build trust with ourselves? You know, I've
mm-hmm.
been there many times where I say, I'm going to start that diet on Monday. And
Right.
Monday comes around and, I'm doing it and I'm really excited. And then by Friday, I'm back to eating pizza. And it's like, it's fine. I'm going to start on Monday again.
Mm-hmm.
It's building that trust with myself that when I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to follow through. It's being able to listen to ourselves the same way we want to practice active listening with a partner. If my husband is telling me that I did something that hurt his feelings, I did something that made him feel disvalued or criticized, I want to practice something called active listening, which is really focusing in and accepting that what he's saying is true from his perspective. It's really
Mm-hmm.
tuning into his emotions and his experience. We want to have that same active listening to with ourselves. When I have that nudge of I'm exhausted, is this really aligned with me? That
Okay.
experience triggered me. How do I then follow up? Am I just brushing it off and saying, oh, it's fine? Or am I going deeper into it and listening to myself and asking myself follow-up questions and really being there for myself, being my best friend, my supporter, the same way that I am with my clients? I want to have that same perspective with myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I just want to make sure people capture because this is important. So the first thing you just said just now that caught my ear was talking about follow through, that you trust yourself to follow through with what you said you were going to do. Tell me a little bit more about that. Like, that's an interesting print. I have not thought of that as an aspect of trust.
Mm. That is
That's new.
trust. That is
Mm-hmm.
trust in our personal relationships with our partner. When our partner says, I love you, I'm going to be faithful to you, I'm going to tell you the truth. If they do not follow through, we don't trust them. We're
Mm-hmm.
always questioning. We're looking in their phone. We're just on edge, or we might even break the relationship and say, this doesn't value me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So when we don't follow through on the things that we promise ourselves, that we say to ourselves, the same thing happens. We
Wow.
question our ability. We question whether or not this next time I say I'm going to follow through on that diet, or I'm going to go to the gym, or I'm going to have some time for quality time for myself. I'm going to take breaks. Whatever that is, I'm always going to question. I'm going to be weary. Do I really mean it? Or am I just, throwing it in the wind and hoping it's going to happen? And this is the reason why we do this. This is a form of self sabotage.
Mm-hmm.
Our
Mm-hmm.
brains are not wired for success, unfortunately. They're wired for survival. We
Right.
do still have that caveman brain. As
Right.
smart as we are, as many gadgets as we have, we still have that brain that is wired to protect us. So when I say that I'm going to go on this new diet and I'm going to get in my best shape, or I'm going to have this incredible relationship with my partner, or I'm going to build this business, or I'm going to take more time for self care, whatever it is that I promise myself, my brain is going to look at that and say, how can I keep you safe? Or a
Mm-hmm.
perceived sense of safety. That
Mm-hmm.
means when that chocolate cake comes up, that perceived sense of safety is, yeah, but the chocolate cake's going to make you happy. And happiness is going to keep you safe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If it's saying that I'm going to take time for myself, take time for self care, my brain's going to say, yeah, but you really need to work hard on this business. You don't have time to stop. You're in
Mm-hmm.
survival mode. So we really want to build that relationship with ourself, which is deeper than our thoughts. We think that relationship is just, you know, having those thoughts in my head, but it's deeper than that. And it's being able to differentiate what is true alignment and what is just my sort of monkey brain going off trying to protect me.
So, in terms of a practice owner, a lot of my audience are people who own small businesses, private practices in some kind of a healing arts capacity, right? So they may be psychotherapists, they may be Reiki practitioners, they may be yoga instructors, massage therapists. I can think of some things, but I don't want to jump the gun. I want to follow your wisdom here. How would you see letting yourself down, breaking your trust with yourself? How would you see that playing out for practice owners? Anything in particular jump out to you? Because I think this is an important issue. I think I see this all the time, actually. I just haven't thought about it in this way before. Yeah.
When we are healers and we are supporting other people, we want to have very clear boundaries
Mm-hmm.
on the emotional baggage that we take on, the hours that we're willing to work, the follow-up work, the depth we're able to go through. And just as a business owner in ourselves, it's really important to have these boundaries.
Yeah.
And that can get very muddy, especially when we're in the business of helping people because we feel like I'm available, whenever you need me, I'm always on call. And so setting those boundaries is really important and trusting within yourself that you set those boundaries because they're in alignment with your value system. And I do not
Yeah.
waver on my value system. I love you. I'm there for you during office hours. But we have to put ourselves first always because that relationship that we have with ourselves is the most important. Even if you want
Mm.
to be the most giving person, you have this Mother Teresa like aura about you, you still want to put yourself first because in order to
Girl,
give to
this is
others,
radical what you're saying here. This is radical. Like you can't say that to us.
yes, yes, but it's 100% true
mm,
because if you
mm,
want to give to others, the question is who's giving? The one who's burnt out
yeah.
and exhausted and has no boundaries? How
Yeah.
can you give from a place of scarcity?
Yeah.
But when you fill your cup up and you are energized and you are focused and you are alive and you feel good, that's when you're able to give your best self and be the most effective. So we have to look at ourselves first so we can build ourselves up, be the most powerful healer, the most powerful practitioner, and then we can give from that place of empowerment.
Y'all, I really want to highlight this because this concept itself is not necessarily new, but thinking about it from a point of view of trust is new to me. So Riley's saying that your most important relationship, period, is the relationship you have with yourself, and no relationship works without trust, right? So if you set an intention for yourself, and Riley, you nailed it. This is exactly where I was thinking in my own mind. You set an intention. I'm going to grow a thriving private practice. I'm going to help my clients, and I want to do it because I know what they need, and whatever agency or hospital or wherever I worked, they're not taking care of people. I want to do it the right way. But I also want freedom. I want financial stability. I want to have a life in addition to my practice. And you set an intention for yourself about what that looks like. And then you go against that over and over and over again. You are breaking trust with yourself. This is a new way of looking at this. And I am immediately thinking about various clinicians that I have coached who were seeing people on Saturday night and Sunday afternoon and dying for a day off,
Mm,
or who said, I'm not going to see anybody anymore after 5 o'clock, but then would see people at 7 because they wanted to work with a couple that couldn't come until the evening, or really want to work with kids. And the only way I can see kids is if I see them after school. Well, that's actually not necessarily always true. So setting boundaries around your time is a biggie. And I think it's one of the places that I see people set themselves up for burnout most often, actually. And if you set an intention, I don't connect with the diet metaphor. That doesn't really work for me, I have to say, but I do connect with the idea that I'm going to set an intention for myself that is healthy, whatever healthy looks like. And then if I don't go through with it, I don't follow it, I don't do what I said I was going to do, like my morning yoga practice, then I am breaking trust with myself. That's powerful. That's really good. Thank you for that. Yeah. And then the second thing you said that caught my ear was the concept of active listening. That is also not a new idea for me. And yet you're using it in a new way, which I
mhm.
think is kind of cool. You were talking about it like as an aspect of like in a relationship with a partner. I'm sure colleagues, friends, anybody, right? To listen to them and to understand it from their point of view, that you don't have to agree with it to acknowledge it as true from their point of view. But you were using this with yourself. Let's dig into that a little bit. What is active listening when it's myself? Let's go further with that.
Yes, and it's something that practitioners are really good at when it comes to their clients because we
Yeah.
have to listen to our clients, right? We have to be really tuned in and read between the lines and being able to understand what they're telling us without telling us so that we
Hmm.
can support them. So we can use that same practice when it comes to ourselves. When you have these thoughts come up, you really want to dig into them and see what value do they have? How can I learn from them? How can I grow from them? How can I read between the lines of these things that I'm experiencing? So we want to listen to our body. We want to listen to our thoughts. We want to listen to our triggers, to our traumas, and really build that relationship off of I hear you, I see you, I understand you, I'm here for you, showing up
Mm,
for yourself. And that
mm,
is part of building that trust that I am going to show up for myself. If I say that I want to have financial freedom and I want to have weekends off, I'm going to show up for myself. And the reason why I said that is because this is what this life feels like for me. This is the life that I chose for myself. So that active listening is listening to this is what I want. I don't want to work on weekends. So when
yeah.
I do say yes to that weekend gig, I want to really have that active listening, which is why did I say yes? What does that
Mm,
mean? Where does that pressure come from? Or where does that guilt come from? How can
mm,
I nurture that?
yeah.
As you said, if I feel that I want to work with children and I feel like the only time to work with children is after school, I want to ask myself, where does that limiting belief come from? Is it impossible for me to work any other hours? Do I have proof of that? Or is this an assumption that I'm making?
Right.
And you have that inner dialogue of asking yourself questions and then following through with really doing the research or finding the information or journaling. Because again, our brain isn't wired for success, it's wired for safety. So if
Mm-hmm.
I'm working those hours and I say, well, these are the only hours I have to work, I want to ask myself, is that a form of me getting into this place of safety? So I immediately say that I have to work after school hours. Well, did I research that? Did I find that somewhere? Or am I
Right.
making an assumption because I'm
Right.
afraid that that's the only answer? So we start to really dig deep and discover these beautiful things about ourselves, and we grow and we understand that we are all flawed, which is perfect. You know, we are perfect within our flaws, but the idea is that we want to grow because we want to create a more and more beautiful and aligned life for ourselves.
I love this concept. And what I hear you saying is tune into yourself and pay attention, like really pay attention. And I love that you said to your body and to your thoughts and to be curious about that. That's what I'm hearing you. There was a phrase you used that I thought, oh, I bet that is something that we could use. You said, I have to, da 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 da. Would that be kind of a tool to use? Like anytime you find yourself saying, I have to, or I can't, that there maybe there's a story there? Like I have to see people a certain time. I have to charge a certain amount. I have to do this work in a certain way. Do you? That's because that's what I'm hearing you say is to be curious about that and to question the assumptions. This is active listening. This is deep listening to ourselves. Yeah.
Yes. In relationship intelligence, we have something called the 10 RI alignment codes. And these are skills that when we master them, we build these beautifully aligned relationships. And
Okay.
in that is brainstorming and problem solving. Those are two of the codes. Brainstorming is really important. And it's having that curiosity to say, if I want to work with children, but I don't want to work after school hours, let me brainstorm and figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
So, if my initial thought is, well, I have to, that's the only thing, it's okay. Because again, our monkey brain is going off and saying,
Yeah.
we're going into fear, fight or flight. No, 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 that's it. I have to do it. But then
Yeah.
we accept that and say, okay, that's fine. That's what my brain says. Now let me use my conscious thinking to actually brainstorm and figure this out. That may be the truth, but let me just see. Let me stay curious and stay open. So I start to do some research. What other options do I have? And I start to,
Mm-hmm.
create that list and brainstorm with myself. I ask other people, maybe I read some blogs. I can ask ChatGTP, whatever it is, a friend, a coworker, to get more information, to be open and flexible and brainstorm. And then we have that problem solving. So if I find myself in a situation where I want something, but I don't have the solution,
Yeah.
I have that acceptance of this is what feels aligned to me. This is what I want. This is my goal. Great. How can I become a problem solver so that any problem I have, I figure it out? It may take time. I may need to find some more resources, but I'm going to figure it out because I have that value of my life. And I build that trust with myself that I'm able to solve any problem that comes my way.
I love
And
that.
so we
I love
use
that.
these different aspects of building this relationship with myself. As I told you in our pre-interview, that I was abandoned when I was born. I
Mm.
grew up in a very abusive household and I left home at 16. I didn't have a lot of skills. I was book smart and I was street smart, but I didn't have a lot of skills when it came to building that relationship with myself. I
Yeah.
was depressed. I suffered from anxiety. And I had to learn to become a problem solver because one of the biggest issues that I had was because I was so conditioned by trauma, anything that came my way, I fell apart. Something
Mm-hmm.
didn't go right, the world is falling. The
Mm-hmm.
sky is falling. The world is coming to an end. I would freak out at every negative thing that came my way. And I
Yeah.
had to learn there's no one that's going to fix this for me. I have
Yeah.
to learn to become a problem solver. And
Yeah.
when you solve problems one after the other, and maybe everything doesn't go 100% your way, but sometimes even solving those problems that don't go your way, the solution is acceptance and being able to be comfortable with accepting that sometimes things don't go your way. But it's being able to solve problems and then build trust that any other problem that comes along, you'll be able to solve it. And that
That's
you stay
huge.
curious, you stay open, and this is how we thrive.
Yeah, that's really huge. I led a retreat for some of my women clients last week, and all day long, I kept finding myself as they were discussing various things that they wanted in terms of intentions. And they like, I want to do this, or I want to achieve this, or I want this new reality in my life, but I don't see how it's even possible. And I would often say, The how is never the problem. The problem is giving yourself permission to do what you want to do anyway. Just giving, like, this is what I'm going to do. Okay, so give yourself permission to do that. And the how will come. You will figure it out. What I love about what you're saying is that you're saying trust yourself, that you have the ability to figure things out. Just trust that and take a moment. Like I'm thinking, step back from whatever it is for a moment, study, allow, be open to creative ideas, to influence, to support around you. The solution will make itself known to you. The key is to trust that you will find it. Just know that you've got that in you, even if you don't see it yet. Is that right? Am I getting this right? Am I
Yes,
accurate about this?
yes,
Okay.
yes. And a lot of times, easier said than done. It's like,
Yeah.
well, how do I trust myself?
Mm-hmm.
You do that by proving yourself right time and time again. And there's so much evidence around you right now. You woke up, you brushed your teeth, you went on with the day, you do a job, you pay your rent, you help people, take care of your dog, your cat, your child. There's so much that you're doing already that you're successful in. But we just sort of say, oh, well, that's just normal life. But you've done that. Everything that you've done in your life so far is to be celebrated because life is tough. It is really, really tough.
Yeah.
And we've gone through so much and we've come so far, and we're just constantly focused on what's next, what's next, what's next. And the I'll be happy when syndrome, right? It's
Mm,
like we're always,
mm-hmm.
I'll be happy when.
Mm-hmm.
And we
Mm-hmm.
forget to celebrate what we've already done.
Yeah.
So when we build that trust with ourselves, it's taking into account everything that we've already done, setting those goals for ourselves. And when we smash them, because we can, we celebrate. And we do that again and again and again. And when we're setting up these goals and we're building this trust, there are going to be moments where it's difficult. I've done water fasting over 3-day periods. My husband's done 10. He's so much better than me, but I've done 3. And I'll tell you, when you do water fasting, your body is like, I'm going to die. I'm not going to make it. Why did I do this? Again, realize that your monkey brain isn't always telling you the truth because I didn't die. But it's about following through with those things because I set an intention and going through the process of building that confidence. I can do this. I can do this. I set myself up to do this. I can do this. And for me, that water fasting is just a practice to build that trust with myself and be able to differentiate the value system that I have and the vision I have for my life versus that monkey brain telling me that if I don't eat in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to die. And
Mm-hmm.
so there are different ways that we can build that trust because it may not come so naturally. We may have to do different practices like meditation, like fasting, to be able to sit in appreciation for the things that we're doing that may feel uncomfortable or may feel difficult.
Mm-hmm. You know this, starting a business is difficult, right? Figuring out your message is difficult. Finding your audience is difficult. Learning how to charge for what you do is difficult. Um, they may seem surfacey in a way, like this is just what we do for a living, but it also is a metaphor for what's going on underneath because we attach our identity so much to our success or to how we're doing in our job or our work. One of the things you just said that I think really resonates for my folks is that as entrepreneurs, which we all are, the folks who tend to listen to this are anyway, we're a little bit crazy. We're risk takers. We are people with big ideas. We are people with big hearts who really, 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 really want to make a difference in the world. And we often focus on the gap that you just named between where we are and where we want to be, what we haven't done yet. And I see a lot of folks beating themselves up over that. So your point about we need to celebrate all the ways that we are already showing up, all the successes we have already had. You're right about that, Riley. And people don't do that nearly enough. Women especially. I have seen like there's research that shows this to be true. And so guys, don't take this the wrong way because I promise you there's research out there. There's a tendency often for men to do one thing and think they can do 10, right? Or, they look in the mirror in the morning and go, I have a high school degree and I'm a great welder, why couldn't I be a senator someday? Whatever. A woman will often look into the mirror and she's got 2 PhDs and 20 years of experience and will think, I still don't know enough yet to do whatever that cool thing is I want to do. Right. We tend to undervalue our contributions. And your point about when you're trying to establish trust and trying to develop more confidence, which is what trust leads to, look at what you've already done. Give yourself credit for what you've already done. I always start my coaching calls with, all right, so what are we celebrating this week? What's happened in the past week that we're going to celebrate? And I can't tell you, you'll get this. I can't tell you how many times I've had people go like, I don't know, Wendy, I haven't done squat. I didn't do anything this week. I'm like, really? Didn't you tell me you had that tough conversation with a client that went better than you thought? Well, yeah, I did do that. And didn't you tell me you set a boundary with somebody about what time you were going to say? Well, yeah, I did. Oh, you're right. I did. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And I did that and that and that and that. Giving yourself credit and stopping to notice that, I think, is really important.
Yes.
And you also mentioned a couple of things around discipline. So whether it's exercise, meditation, a healthier approach to food, whatever it is, that also builds trust in yourself when you do that, right? Yeah.
Yes, it can be anything. It could be, I'm not going to scroll before bed,
Yeah.
which is something that I stopped doing a few months ago, completely changed my life.
Wow. 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 We can talk
I've
about that.
detoxed. I've detoxed from social media.
Wow.
Um, whatever it is, I'm going to spend more time with my children, or I'm going to invest in this coaching program, or, whatever it is that you find valuable, being able to follow through with that thing because you've set the value of it.
Mm-hmm.
And this all comes down to, again, one of these RI alignment codes, which is having a
Okay.
vision for your life. This is why we do everything. We're here to have the most fulfilled life we possibly can, to reach our highest potential.
Mm.
And we want to ask ourselves, what are we doing this all for? What is the point of having this coaching business, or being a therapist, or being an entrepreneur? Why am I doing this? And you can say, well, I want to help people. I want to have my own business. These are ways to actually get to your vision, but they're not
Mm.
your vision. Your vision is
Mm.
bigger than that. Your
Mm.
vision is to live a fulfilled life. It's to be happy, to help others. And so we want to really take a moment to see that we're doing that right now. We may not have 1,000 clients. We may not be making 100K months. We may not have, the biggest house, or the best friend group, or whatever that is, but we are in the process of. And
Yeah.
this is something that I learned to really build my confidence within myself and build that trust, is to say, I am in the process of, because it stops you from, I'll be happy when. I'm happy right
Mm.
now. Because I
Mm.
am in the process of, it may be step by step. I may not
Yeah.
have all the answers. Yes, entrepreneurship is brutal. I know.
Speaking from
But
experience.
yes, but it's all about in the process of, we're already doing that. Like you said, those micro celebrations, they are important. They're not just little things. Whatever little things that you do, those things are there to celebrate. And when we celebrate them, we show the universe that we're appreciative and we want more of that. We're making
Mm-hmm.
space for that. We can hold all of that and more. So we really want to take
All of that
those
and
those
more.
moments.
All of
Yes.
that and more. Because we tend to think I should be grateful for what I've got.
Mm.
Who am I to complain? I have it so much better than so many others. I have to push against this all the time because I think in my people's, in their world, we feel guilty for wanting more. What right do I have to want more? So I love that you're saying that. And you're talking about, I love that, Riley, I am in the process of, instead of I'll be happy when. That's great. What a great way to look at that. To me, that's becoming. You're talking about becoming. I am becoming. And there's no end
Yes.
to that, is there? Really?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. And this is when we find true happiness.
Mm.
It's being happy in the now, but always wanting more. We can have
Mm.
both. I can be really grateful for the life that I have and really happy with what I have and really fulfilled and grateful. But this is why I'm here, to have more, to create more, to experience more. And again, if you feel in a place of, well, I already have so much. Who am I to want more? You owe it to yourself, you owe it to your clients, you owe it to your family, you owe it to your neighbor to fulfill your highest potential. And
Mm,
whether that includes making more money, making a bigger practice. Again, if you have a business that brings value to others and in return you get more money, that means you're giving more value. It's a win-win for everyone.
totally.
So
It's an equal
we
exchange.
yeah,
Yep.
so we don't want to stay small because we're also, if we're staying small on the business side, that means we're also staying small on giving back and making an impact. We
And
can
living
truly
a
have it
small
all.
life. Like, how does it serve the world for you to be small? It doesn't help anybody. So, yeah, I love this. Like, live your best life. And running a successful practice is part of that. Changing lives through the work that you do is part of that. But it also impacts your life, and your life matters too. That's the thing that I always come back to that I hear you speaking to here. Your life matters too. So that's that's beautiful. Sorry. I'm like, okay, I think that's all we have to say here. No, I'm just kidding. So listen to yourself, learn to trust yourself, celebrate the things that you do well, give yourself credit for all that you've done. I love that you can be happy now. You can totally be appreciative of where you are and still want more. That is the nature of all things, isn't it? That we are always evolving, always expanding. That's creation. I mean, that's how the world is. Why not tap into that for ourselves? I don't mean to derail you. I'm sorry if I'm taking you off track. Let
No,
me,
no, I'm
okay.
I'm right here with you. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. I'm curious about the relationship intelligence codes, the alignment codes that you're talking about. What other principles do we need to be paying attention to? This is good.
Yeah. And again, this is the relationship we have with ourselves, the relationship we have with our partner, with our colleagues, with our friends, with our family. We have something called interdependence.
Mm-hmm.
And this is being able to have a relationship with yourself and a relationship with someone else, and then a third relationship, which is the two of you together. This is really important when we're talking about people in practice.
Okay.
You can have this wonderful relationship with your clients, but you are still an individual. So you
Mm-hmm.
don't get lost in the relationship you have with them. Again, that allows you to set those boundaries. That there's me as an individual and there's me separate from my practice. I am not only a therapist. Therapy is something I do, but I am not
Mm-hmm.
only a therapist. I am Sarah, I am Jessica, and I am a human being. And therapy is something I do. And it's something I'm really passionate about. It's something I love. And my client, Susan, I really care about her and I want to support her. In order to best support her, I need to nurture the relationship I have with myself. Again, putting myself first, filling my cup up first. And then
Mm-hmm.
I have Sarah, who's an individual who's living her life, who's getting support from me, but she
Mm-hmm.
does not only depend on me. She
Yes.
needs to hold her own and use me as a tool to better her life. And then there's the relationship of us as client and practitioner, and we nurture that third entity of a relationship. But it's not we become one and she becomes fully reliant on me and I identify only in the way that I serve her. And so we really want to be able to differentiate and set these boundaries. It's really important. As well, I have intrinsic value. I am 100% of a person. I am fabulous. I'm amazing. I'm all powerful, regardless of whether or not the clients are coming in, regardless of whether or not
Mm.
the business is growing. A lot of
Mm.
times we feel that guilt, that shame, that frustration. Oh, I'm not doing really well. I lost 3 clients this week. That must mean that I'm, not so good at my job. Maybe I should quit, or maybe I'm not as good as I thought, or whatever that is. And it's saying, no, I am first a human being. I am Jessica, I am Susan, I am Mary, and I am a whole person and I'm valuable and I'm incredible. And this profession that I've chosen to be in is an expression of me, but it is not me. And
Mm.
even if I were to lose it tomorrow, which I won't, but in case I did, I would still be a whole human. So I do not put all of my value on the ups and downs that go on in my business. I've seen this happen so many times. I work with a lot of coaches,
Mm.
and I see them really putting themselves down of I'm not good enough because no one's buying my courses. I must be really terrible. And it's saying, no, you are absolutely incredible. You have this vision. So this is where, the alignment codes start pinging off of each other. So you have that interdependence to say, I am a whole human being. I am fabulous and amazing and capable. And then we go to the brainstorming and say, okay, how can I fix this? Because the problem is not you. It's not that there's something wrong with you. You just haven't found what's clicked. So we
Right.
go to that brainstorming, we figure out how we can do better, we can ask other people, things like that. We become problem solvers. That then builds trust with ourselves. And it all goes back to that vision of creating this incredible life for ourselves, feeling valuable enough to say, if I desire something, it's made for me. We don't all
Mm,
have to make 100K a month. We don't all
mm,
have to have, a million clients. We don't have to have these huge businesses if we don't want to. But if there's something inside you that says, oh, that would be really nice, and I can see myself doing that, and I really like the idea of that, then that is made for you. And
mm.
so you have every
Yeah.
right to go after that and to create that for yourself. And again, we go back to the limiting beliefs because if you think that creating a very successful coaching business or therapy practice or whatever it is, if you feel, oh, well, if I make, $10 million a year, that's not really good. That's not really ethical. We go back to that limiting belief of why do we have to make an
Why do I have to be
unethical
poor?
practice?
Why do I have to be poor
Yes.
to be good?
Why can't we have an ethical practice where we're really
Yes.
supporting people, we're staying with our roots, but we're also
Yes.
making, a ton of money on the way?
Yeah.
Why can't we have both of those? So that again, it goes back to that monkey brain, that fear brain of those two things can't live in alignment. I can't be
Mm.
successful and be ethical. Where does that come from? And that's when we start to ask those questions. Where does that come from? Is that based in fact or is it based in fear? And we start to get to know ourselves and it's
This is
ongoing.
great. This is great. You just nailed the thing that I think people struggle with the most in this world, in the healing arts industries. So
Mhm.
I'm curious for you, has this been something you've had to grow into yourself? Like, what has this process been like for you as you've been, because you've lived this, right? This code is something that you have come up with from your own life experience, which has been pretty serious from the sound of it. You've been through a
Yes.
lot and you have worked hard, I can tell, to move beyond that and to grow into who you are today. Tell me how this process has sort of played out for you as you've begun to embody these principles for yourself.
Relationship intelligence, I say, saved my life
Mm.
because when I was a child, I was labeled as academically gifted. I was advanced in school, straight A student, came very easily to me. And then when I left home at 16, I had street smarts. So I had the book smarts and the street smarts. And I was able to get a house and a car. And I went to university studying 2 degrees. I got a job offer
Wow.
for Bank of America as a branch manager, which is incredible after university. I was on my path and I was checking all of the boxes.
Mm-hmm.
But I was depressed. I had anxiety. I had an eating disorder. And it got to the point where I decided I was going to take my life.
Mm.
And I realized that society didn't set me up for success. I was trying to be a good human being by checking all those boxes,
Yeah.
but those boxes weren't enough. And I
Yeah.
realized that there was a third type of intelligence that was missing. And that was relationship intelligence, the ability to heal my trauma, to build a beautiful relationship with myself, to build that trust, that value, that confidence within myself, to build healthy relationships with other people, to create a business and a life that I felt aligned with. I thought success was this high powered woman that wore, a power suit and worked on Wall Street. That's what I thought I was going to do. And
Mm.
I would have been really good at it again because I had those skills, but it wasn't aligned for me. It wasn't the highest expression of
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
And so that third type of intelligence really gave me purpose. It was saying, sure, I can use the book smarts. I have 2 degrees. I am academically intelligent. I have the street smarts. I know how to, get a house and get a car and invest in the stock market and do all those things. But I also know how to build aligned relationships. And again, we really have seen there was a Harvard study that came out that showed that the relationships are the aspect that we need to be happy because all the high powered suits and the money and the investments, that's not enough by themselves to make you happy. So we can go after those things, go after them, do all of them. But underneath all of that has to be the relationship aspect, building
Yeah.
the relationship with yourself and others. And through this practice of relationship intelligence, I've been able to build a nearly seven-figure business. I've been able to travel the world. I make my own hours. I feel very relaxed every day. During the
Mm,
week, I go to the spa and I go for lunch and dinners, and it's not just, work, work, work. I have an incredible relationship with my husband, filled with lots of intimacy and fun. And so it was an uphill battle. Yes, it took a
yeah, I
lot of
bet. I bet.
falling and scraping my knees and breaking
Yeah.
some arms and all of that stuff. But it's building that trust that I can do anything. And it may
Mm,
be painful and it may take some time and it may take some learning and it may take some asking for help and
hmm.
finding new information, but I can create this. I can
Yeah.
truly create this. And building this life for myself is great for me, but it's also great for my husband. It's great for my friends. It's great for my neighbors, for, anyone that I pass on the street, because that's the way I show up in the world. So anyone I come in contact with in the world is having that impact of me showing up in the world as my highest self.
Yeah. That's beautiful. And thank you for sharing that. That's a very quick description of what I know has probably been a very long and hard road. And I'm grateful for the work that you're doing and for your willingness to share this with us. It's no small thing. And I think that stands out to me in particular about that is that you did all the things that the world told you would make was what success looked like. And it didn't fill you up. It when you said it wasn't in alignment with yourself, who you are, I totally believe that if it's not, it's never going to work. If you aren't living in a way that is in alignment with who you are, with what you care about, with what you value, with what makes your heart beat faster, then you can only sustain it for so long. I've done those things in the past. I've done 1,000 things. And anytime I've started some kind of an endeavor, an initiative, a side gig, a new business, whatever, if it wasn't something that I absolutely loved, that I was so excited about, I couldn't stand it, I couldn't sustain it for very long, no matter how sensible, reasonable, practical it was. And however you define success is so loaded. It's hard to figure out what does that look like for me? And is it possible for me to have financial safety, security, freedom, ease, shall I say? And be doing good and important work in the world that is aligned. And when you made a decision in whatever form that looked like as you were going through it, when you made a decision like, I could go down this road and I can make it work, but it is empty. It is empty. It does not feel who I am. And you began to do whatever you had to do to pivot, to figure out this is who I am and this is what I bring to the world. That's powerful. And look where it's got you now by being true to yourself. And guys, I want to highlight, I'm highlighting this for Riley because I want you guys to learn from this. That when I talk about an ideal practice, I mean your practice should be ideal for you, whatever that looks like. And that means totally giving yourself permission to shape it or reshape it as in whatever way you need to so that it absolutely fills you up and makes you happy. I always say how you do anything is how you do everything. And I think when you are cutting yourself short in your business, you're going to be cutting yourself short in the rest of your life, which is kind of what I'm hearing Riley say. Yeah. Am I with you? Or
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And we have to be conscious of the vision that we have for our life and where
Yes.
does that come from? And that comes from the introspection.
Yeah.
Am I doing these things because I think that they'll make me happy? Am I doing them because society told me this is what a man does? This is what a woman does. This is what a successful person does. This is what a good person does.
Mm-hmm.
Or am I doing this because it truly feels aligned? And we want to check and double check our answers because we are so conditioned to make certain choices that we're not conscious of. Or
Right.
if you think, I work with a lot of women who are successful business owners and their moms, and balancing the two can be very, very difficult because
Mm.
society tells you that you have to do it all and you have to do it all alone.
Yep.
And you can't complain and you have to, also do all the other things. And so we want to ask ourselves, is the vision I have for my life something that I've created piece by piece? And if not, it's okay. What we can do is, and even if we say that we think we have, we can still do this exercise. I always say, if you woke up in the morning and you could be anywhere and doing anything, what would that be?
Mm.
That's how I built my life. I said, okay,
Mm.
forget about where I am now. Forget about what I think I can and can't do or what I'm supposed to do. In my perfect world, if I could have anything, and I went through this exercise for years, if I wake up in the morning, what is the smell that I smell? What is the
Mm.
feeling of the sheets on my skin? Where am I? I open the window. Where am I? Am I in front
Ah.
of a sea? Am I in a noisy city? Who's lying next to me? Are there kids coming in? Is there a dog jumping on the bed? And what do I do with my day? Am I on calls? Am I speaking in front of people? Am I working in a fast food restaurant? What is my perfect day? Because we're not all supposed to have the same vision. That is the point. There's
Yeah.
there's not enough job opportunities if we all have the same job that we want.
Right.
If we have billions of people on this planet and we're all doctors, then we're in trouble. Um, and that's the thing, we don't all have the same vision. If you want to be a stay-at-home mom, if you want to have a successful business, if you want to be single or you want to be married, if you want to have 5 kids or you want to just have a cat, we live in a time that is very new for us. And this is uncomfortable for a lot of people because it is new. As women and as men, we've always been told what we have to do.
Yeah.
Again, that monkey brain, in order to survive, you have to get married, you have to have kids. The man goes to work, he makes the money, the woman stays at home, she cooks and cleans. Now we live in a world where you can do anything you want. So we have to start thinking for ourselves for the very first time.
Yeah.
And that is difficult for people because they
Yes.
they create from where they are right now. They create from what they think they're supposed to do, what is available. So for the first time, it's like,
Mm.
here's the clean slate. Now create your perfect day, your perfect week. What does that look like? How do you
Yeah,
feel?
that's so true.
What are you doing?
If you have too many choices, you don't know what to do with it. Sometimes
Hmm.
it's easier to have people tell you who you are. It's
Hmm.
harder to own responsibility for the life that you're building. It's actually harder. We don't think it is, but it is, and that's what you're nailing here. Um, I've had this happen 1,000 times where I've asked some client in front of me, "Well, what do you really want?" And I get this look of like, "I don't know, I don't know."
Hmm.
It's a scary question. You're right.
Yeah.
I love this exercise you're walking us through about it, visualizing this day, this perfect day. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just like that question, what do I want? We think it's easy, but it isn't. Give a kid a quarter and tell them they can go buy anything they want in Walmart and see what happens. I don't
How long
know. I
it
don't
takes.
know. Right. Right. Okay.
Yes.
So you said you did this exercise for years.
For years, I was living a life that I wasn't connected with. And I would think about, if I woke up in the morning, what would I be doing? Where would I be going? Who would I be with? And there was nothing in my present reality that told me that that was going to happen. As a child, we never went on a single family holiday. There's
Mm.
nothing in my past that shows that I should be traveling the world and living my best life. I didn't come from that. So we want to disconnect from where we are now, what we think we're supposed to do, and just play with it. What would be interesting? Are you more attracted to the seaside? Are you more attracted to the city? How does it feel if you imagine waking up next to a partner versus waking up next to your cat? We want to play with this. Do you want to be a coach who primarily works online, or do you find value in being face to face with people in person? I was talking to someone who's a business coach, and she was pitching me to sell me, and she was very, very sweet. But she was saying to me, you have to do 100% online because you don't want to burn out. And, there's no time. If you want to make a lot of money, you have to do. And I was explaining to her, I get that because, the time it takes you to drive somewhere and things like that. But I said, I'm a relationship expert. I
Yeah.
love being in person with people
Yeah.
because as much as I love being online, which I do because I can talk to you and you're miles away from me.
Right.
there is value in having this availability online, but there's also value for me as a person who loves relationships to be in the same room with someone because
Yes.
the smells, the eye contact, there's so much that happens in
The energy
person
is
that
just
you don't
different.
get
It's just
online.
different.
Yes.
Hmm.
And so there's other ways that I can scale my business, and I do a lot of business online, but that in-person experience is so valuable to me. So again, it's just understanding what feels good to you, what feels aligned to you. And it may not be what other people suggest or what other
Yep.
people are doing.
Yeah.
There have been times where people in the business world come to me and they say, your brand is too soft. You need to have the blues and the reds and like the hardcore stuff. And I said,
Masculine, traditionally
um,
masculine.
yes. And I
Hmm.
said, I can have my beige and my grays and my whites the way I like them and still sell to corporate companies and have them take me seriously.
Yeah.
There is a way. And again, we're not all on the same page. We're not all going to agree. And that's when you have that vision for your life. You stay open and flexible because there's always places to learn and grow.
Hmm.
I love
Hmm.
to learn and grow from people.
Hmm.
I have also worked with quite a lot of people who don't know what they want. That's a great place to be. It's not a bad place to be because it's like you get to start fresh.
Yeah.
It's exciting. And how we take that step forward is we start to just look into some things, start to watch YouTube videos, get into other people's experiences, a day in the life. Before I became a public speaker, I would watch these vlogs about public speakers traveling around, seeing them before the performance, how they warm up. I'm like, oh, that's really exciting. Like that looks great. I love traveling videos, seeing people go to different countries and try different foods. So if you're not sure what you want, that's also a really great place to be because you get to
Mm,
play. You get to
mm.
say, I have a fresh canvas. Let's paint this thing. Let's make it a bit messy. And you get to explore it and learn about yourself.
I wish you all could see her face while she's talking because she just completely lights up as she's sharing this. It is so true. This is a great, I love this. This is a different way of looking at this whole thing. A fresh canvas. And what you're saying is like expose yourself to ideas and experiences in lots of different ways. And I think of that. I don't know where I got this, but somewhere along the way, I picked up the idea of treating life like it's a wine tasting party and you're
Hmm.
just sampling a little bit of the stuff here, there, and the other. And you will find this really feels good. This doesn't feel so good. There's an in between that I saw in your face just now, which is like when you were talking about speakers, watching speakers and how they prepare and how they warm up. If you are watching something or you're trying something or you're thinking about trying something and your heart or your body is like, wow, this is really cool. And also, oh, I can never do that.
Hmm.
I would just challenge you to pay attention to that because that part of you that says this is really cool is leaning in, and excitement and anxiety are basically two sides of the same coin. There's a very similar feeling. So if you're excited about something or drawn to something, there's something in there that speaks to you. Pay attention to that. And if your immediate reaction is to discount it, I would follow what Riley is saying and say, just be curious about that. Study that a little bit. What is that about? Well, how do I know that I could never do that? Who said I could never do that? Well, what if
Hmm.
it's possible that I could? I just don't have the how figured out yet. Sometimes when we are trying to create or imagine a future or imagine a different way of being, all we know is what we know. So it is hard to imagine something you've never experienced. What you're saying right here is there are lots of ways to sort of play with that concept. There are lots of ways to sort of sample it. So don't discount those. And as I pay attention to your energy, do you find yourself going, oh my gosh, I love this so much. How could oh, I don't know. Just honor it. Just honor it and allow it and sit with it and see where it takes you. I think that's important. And I love that you had a life. You came into this world in a life that was not what you wanted, was not what you intended for whatever. I mean, we can talk about that in lots of different ways, but at 16, you made a choice for something different, having no idea what you were going to do. And you started figuring it out. And it was extremely difficult, but you
Hmm.
kept going and you've learned, you've evolved, and you are still becoming. True?
Always,
Oh,
always,
always, always.
always.
And the coaches that you were talking about that are beating themselves up because they don't have the clients they want or the business, that's not a self issue. That's a marketing issue. That's just
Hmm.
a systems issue, a strategy issue. That has nothing to do with who you are.
Yeah.
So don't do that to yourself. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And again, it's building that trust that I will figure this out because
yeah,
we may see what we have right now and say, I don't have the tools. I don't have the knowledge. I don't know how to go
yet.
forward with this.
Yeah,
But when you are resourceful, you don't have to have the resources, but when you are resourceful, you will find the way. And let's be honest, we live in the easiest time in the world when it comes to access. We can research, Google, ask anything, and there is someone that's done it before us.
yep,
Anything that we want, we're not the only one. We want a
yep,
successful business, we want a beautiful marriage, we want to have, whatever it is, there's someone out there that's done it, and there are resources, and there is a path forward.
yep.
So it's just about saying, I have no clue how I'm going to do this, but I'm going to figure this out. I experienced that when I went from just coaching couples to also coaching corporate clients
Mm-hmm.
because I was thinking, corporate's not going to take me seriously. I'm just this lovey-dovey relationship coach, you know, and I had those thoughts of doubt of how am I going to move into this space and how are people going to see, the ROI of relationship intelligence? Like how am I going to make this, a
Yeah,
serious
yeah.
aspect of my business? And I said, well, you know what? I have no idea. I have no clue. I'm not used to talking to people in learning and development or HR that, I'm used to talking to couples and stay-at-home moms and stuff like that. But I said, there are people out there that do it. There are people
Yep,
out there that specialize in it. And I
yep,
started doing free mentorship and I started going through and talking to people who are in B2B sales and picking their brain and saying, can you help me with this? And
yes,
I obtained that knowledge and I became resourceful. And that's how we have to go about
yeah,
this. It's saying, I trust myself to figure it out. I don't have to trust myself that I can do it right now because I don't have the knowledge, but I
mm-hmm.
trust myself that I will figure it out. And we really want to get clear on that vision. Everything comes back to that vision because some things might light us up. Like I watched these polyglot videos on YouTube and I became obsessed. I was watching so many, you know, this guy goes into a Korean restaurant and he's speaking Korean and Chinese and English and French and German and I'm like, this is incredible.
Yeah,
And it did light me up.
yeah.
But it wasn't part of my vision enough to say I'm willing to do the work to get that. As
To
soon as
learn
I
10
thought about
languages.
like, okay, I have to study and I have to I was like, it's not big enough part of my vision. No, it's not for me. I like
Yeah,
the idea,
yeah,
but it's not, it's not worth the effort. So when we truly, truly want something, we have to ask ourselves, is this in alignment with who I am and what I truly want? Or is this just, a fluffy idea, maybe in another life? The
right.
same goes with learning the violin. I have this crazy passion for the violin, but I don't have enough patience to learn it. It's not in alignment with who I am right now. I'll listen to other people. So we want to get clear again, having that relationship with ourselves of who am I? What do I truly want? What is worth it for me?
What is
Um,
worth it?
and
Mm-hmm.
when I say worth it, I'm talking about to the most extreme extent because I wake up at 4 a.m. every day and people say to me, "Oh, I could never do that. I could
Mm,
never wake up at 4."
mm,
And I ask them this question. If your child's life or your partner's life or you can put whoever you value in there, if their life depended on it, could you do it then?
yeah,
And they
yeah.
say, well, absolutely. If my child's life depended on it. So it's not that we can't, it's that it doesn't have enough value. And you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to wake up at 4. But what I'm saying is, when you truly want something, you truly want it enough to say, I will do anything to have it. For me,
Yeah.
that's financial freedom. That is location freedom. I used to work, the clock in and clock out job. It was so not for me. I was just watching the clock, like, am I done yet?
Right.
Um, having that location freedom, having that financial freedom, having beautiful relationships, taking care of myself, my mental and physical health, those things are non-negotiable. And I want
Yeah.
them enough to do anything. And that's how we sort of navigate what is this fluffy idea. I will not spend the time to learn an instrument or to learn 10 languages. It doesn't bring me that value. But something like financial freedom or location freedom, it's enough value for me that I'm willing to do the work. I'm willing to figure it out and to
Yeah.
trust myself that I will put in the effort because I value it so much. I value myself so much that I will figure it out. And a lot of times we put so much pressure on something. We're like,
Mm,
this is going to be really hard. It's going to be, it's going to take all this effort. And sometimes, like, you ask the right question, you click on the right link, whatever it is, and it's like, oh, actually, that wasn't too bad. That didn't hurt
right.
so bad.
Right. That was easier than I thought it was going to be. I love that. You're
Yeah.
right. What if it doesn't have to be hard?
Mm,
Absolutely. What if it's just a matter of finding the right teachers? Trying things. Like, what if it's possible that this doesn't have to be hard at all? It's more about
yeah.
clarity and intention. And what I hear you saying is motivation. Like, it has to be something that you want it bad enough or strong enough that it motivates you to do the work, to create the momentum, to make the magic happen, right? But it
Mhm.
doesn't have to be, there's good hard and bad hard. There's grueling grunt work that I hate doing, but whatever. And then there's like, yeah, this is kind of hard, but it's fun. So
Mhm.
it's very funny you would use violin as a lesson. I have been taking violin lessons for the last 2 years,
Good for you.
and I am late in life to be doing that, let me tell you. And I think of it as a natural antidepressant because it's so bad. It just makes me laugh a lot. So how can you be depressed when you sound like this? It's really hilarious. And I literally just told my violin teacher just yesterday, I said, this is like my psychotropic medicine. If I don't get this every week, I'm really, really sad. It's so funny that you would use that as an example. Um, Riley, this has been so good. Thank you. You have dropped all kinds of little bits of truth and wisdom here you see me scratching notes. I keep thinking, oh,
Yes.
that was a good one. Oh, that was a good one. Oh, that was a good one. That I want to make sure I can go back and capture. Um, where can people learn more about you? Where can people find you? What's the best way for people to connect with you?
The best way to connect with me is on Instagram. That's where I
Okay.
live. That's where I share a lot of content about relationship intelligence. If you're interested in connecting with me, you can always drop me a DM. I'm happy to connect. I love building relationships.
Yes, you do.
I
And
do.
what's your handle, your title on, or your profile name on Instagram?
It's
Is it
at
just your
Railey
name?
Molinario.
Okay. Just exactly what it is. That's awesome. So y'all go find her there, and we will also click to that. I'll link to that in the show notes as well. And your website is your name, I think, as well,
Yes,
right? So we'll
everything
have
is
that.
my name. And
Everything is your
and
name.
it's very easy because I'm the only Riley Molinario in the world, at least according to Google. So it's easy. My husband's last name is Molinario, which is an Italian last name from the Alps. It's a really small
Mm,
village, so it's a very unique last name. And then you mix Riley
mm.
in there, and doesn't exist. So it's quite cool.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And y'all, Riley is spelled Railey. So the mistake that what I want to say, because if you go look it up, you may have a little trouble finding that. So Railey. Riley, thank you for being here today. It's going to be fun to see where you go because you're doing such good work, and
Thank you.
your message is getting sharper and clearer and sharper and clearer. And I know that even just speaking to this audience is a growth opportunity for you. And I appreciate you coming here. I appreciate you sharing this with us because you're right. What you have to teach does apply across the board in all kinds of situations. Before we started recording, I was asking you about one of your keynote talks, which was about the connection code,
Yes.
right? Which was how you were telling me it's about basically the concept of relationship intelligence in corporate settings and
Yes.
the way that relationships impact the success of employees and organizations in all kinds of ways. So this does apply everywhere. And I started to ask you about that, but that would take us down a whole nother rabbit hole. And I thought, no, stay focused, Wendy, stay focused. I always like to close by asking folks if there's anything that I haven't asked you, anything we haven't discussed, or if there's just anything you feel called to share that would make this conversation complete.
I always like to share the idea of creating this vision because this is where everything starts. We have to look at our life right now and we have to ask ourselves, if I could have anything, what would that be? If I could create anything, where would I be and what would I be doing? And this comes down to building that relationship with ourselves and saying, I am worth it. I am worth everything that comes across my mind, everything that comes across my heart. And some of us may be in positions where we're not living our best life. Maybe we have a broken relationship or our business isn't going the way we want it to. Maybe someone cut us off in traffic. It's the big things and the little things. And I always say this, it's never your fault what happens to you, but it's 100% your responsibility to take you from where you are to where you want to go.
Yeah.
So regardless of those ups and downs, those scrapes and bruises, we can still create the life of our dreams.
Yeah.
And it may take some time and some patience and some self-discovery, but I promise you the pain of staying the same is always worse than the pain of change.
Ah,
We owe it to ourselves to create these beautiful lives, and we want to have fun with it as well.
yeah. Otherwise, what's the point? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. I love that. We
Thank
owe
you.
it to ourselves. We owe it to ourselves, which is what trust is about, which comes
Mhm.
all the way back to the relationship you have to self. All right, y'all. I hope that you guys have been inspired by this conversation. I hope it's got you thinking. I want to support what Riley's saying in that not only is it about creating the life that you want, but you're going to recreate this over and over again. As someone who's been on the planet for a while, I find that I go through this process over and over again. This is who I want to be now. This is what I want my life to look like now. And then a few years go by, like, oh, you know what? That doesn't fit anymore. This is what I want now. And to give yourself permission to always be asking that question and to trust yourself that, as Riley says, that you can figure out what you need to do to make that vision real. So thank you, everybody. Have an awesome week. I encourage you to go sit with a journal, to go for a walk, process what you've heard today, think about it. Reach out to Riley if you want to connect with her. Her website is beautiful. And let me know what you think. I appreciate it. You guys have an awesome week, and I will talk to you again next week right here on the Ideal Practice Podcast. Bye now. Hey, y'all. If this program has become important to you, if Ideal Practice matters, it would mean so much to me if you'd be willing to take just a minute to do one or two of the following things. First of all, would you follow or subscribe to the show here at Ideal Practice? Following me helps you because you'll never miss an episode, but it helps me as well for all kinds of reasons. To do that, all you have to do is go to the show page for Ideal Practice on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. There, just click on the plus sign that you'll usually find in the top right-hand corner, or click on the word follow that you're going to find somewhere there on that page. Of all the things, this really is the most important thing you can do for the podcast itself. While you're there, it would be extra special if you would be willing to give me a 5-star rating, and even better than that, a review with your own words. Your words matter. And when you write what you feel, what you think, you uplift and encourage others. And I love that. If you want to go a step further than that, take your favorite episode or two, one of the ones that has meant a lot to you, and share it with a friend. Could you do one or two of those things for me? I promise I will love you forever. You guys matter to me, and I value your support more than I can possibly say. Thank you, sweet friend, for anything you can do to help me out and support the show. I'll see you again soon.